And welcome back. Um, Picking up where we left off at, talking about input and output in Python. Before we get into that, I thought we would just shift gears and just take a take a higher level perspective on what we're doing, right? So, it we got to ask ourselves. You got to ask yourself, and I will actually want to ask you guys. What is your reason for wanting to take computer science, right? What do you want to do with this? Uh, you know, and this is something that as you progress in your in your learning and in your growth and your education, these ideas become more clear. But it's always good to think about these things, right? And one thing we can think about, or one thing we can answer today is, well, what can we do with Python? Like, what is actually possible? So I actually downloaded some code. Um, it's not mine. Remember, you can't take ownership for things that are not yours, right? Um, but it is also just freely available. So in Python, you can make games, right? And so a library that we use is called Pygame, that is used to create games. So I installed it, and then here they have like some starter code that you can use. Anybody can do this. I copied this. First off, you want to follow the installation instructions before you can even run this, right? Excuse me. So so let's just run it and see. So here's the code here in VS Code, and I'll click run. Let's see. So it's just a very simple game. It's nothing special, but I mean, I'm clicking on the keyboard, I'm moving the dot around, right? Underneath the hood, right? A lot of games are kind of simplified in this way, and then as we say, if we're game developers, okay, we figured out how to move the circle. Now let's make the circle look like the actual character. So you would have somebody design and make a sprite and stuff like that, and then let's build the background. So we make it look like a level, and let's add in enemies, and you know so these are the things you can. So this is just a so without me having to have to code anything, well, the code is here for me to play around with. Um, let's see. So just to give you an idea of like what a workflow would be for, like, you're an aspiring programmer. Uh, let's make the window smaller. Let's make it 1,000. I'll save that and run it. So look, the window's smaller now, right? Let's see. I want to change the color of the circle. Here I see. So I've never used this library before, but I mean, see the way the program is written is kind of easy to understand what's going on. So here it says pygame.draw. So we're drawing a circle. We're putting it on the screen. We're making it the color red. So let me make it. Let's see if I can put blue there, and some other variables here. All right. So let's see what happens. And there you go. Right. So anyways, that was just a little example of clearly it's nothing groundbreaking. I'm not gonna um, win a prize for this, and I shouldn't win a prize because it wasn't my code anyways to begin with. But the authors have made it freely available to for anybody to use, right? And so this is another concept in computer science called like free use or licenses. Some people license out their software, uh, or they call it or make it open source so that anybody can look at the code and also modify the code and use it for their own uses. without having to pay for it. For example, we can look at our favorite Chat GPT. So we can look at OpenAI. Um, I know a lot of you guys are probably familiar with it. We can go to developers, and then we can go to API reference. So here, don't worry about trying to understand. Just I'm just trying to illustrate some points into um we just went off on a tangent about open source, but also you can see that we can integrate the powers of OpenAI, which is like Chat GPT and such, in Python, and so this is how we would actually do it. So it gives you code here, and it says, okay, this is what you have to do, etc., etc. You can make requests like this. So maybe I'll go through an example, or maybe I'll make a video of just showing how I'm using ChatGPT within a Python program, right? Okay, so yeah, so we can use Python to do so for ChatGPT. Here are some. So here I found 7 popular software programs written in Python, right? So YouTube utilizes Python code. Not the whole program of YouTube is written in Python, and that's what you'll find nowadays is that several different languages are used for several different components of a program or even a website, and they all interact with each other and communicate. Right. So we have YouTube, we have got Google, Instagram. So here it says the app utilizes many languages, but its application servers are built using iterations of Python with Django as the framework. Okay. We have Reddit, we have Spotify, Dropbox, Quora. So a lot of so a lot of we would call very professional products are made in Python, right? So this should be motivation for you guys in order to say, okay, yeah, you know what? If I learn Python, I could probably do some really cool, neat, productive, and profitable things with it. All right. So, anyways, let's uh let's continue with our lesson. Okay. So input and output. So we have to think right now. We can print things, right? But generally the way we interact with programs is that we input information, right? So I'm inputting information into the terminal. That's how the user usually utilizes programs. So we need a way to capture input, and the way we can do that is just store it in a variable again, right? So we have the variable first name, and we say we want. Now on the right hand side, we're saying we're calling a function. How do we know we're calling a function? The function's name is called input, and it's followed by brackets like this. And inside the brackets is what we call a parameter, right? And so what this is going to do is going to say it's going to store whatever the user types into the variable first name. How do we know that, right? So what's going to happen is this function is going to run, and it's going to type onto the into the terminal. It's going to say, please enter your name. So let me see if I can do that in the interpreter, or I might have to do it in VS Code here, but we'll see. Let's see how I can do this. Okay, let's see. First name, yeah, it should be fine. First name equals input. Please enter your first name. So here, so see it. So it typed out. Okay, I don't like this. See how it's kind of joined there. So we need to um, make a change there. We want to put a space after the prompt. So we can do this. Please enter your first name, colon, space, Oh, I forgot a quotation there. Okay, so that looks prettier, right? So now, see now when I run it, I have a clear space that separates what I'm inputting from what the prompt was, right? So okay, fine. Okay, I inputted my name now. Now to prove to you that first name is holding the string Aaron, I will print it. There it is. And now what is the type? What is the type of first name? Well, I already told you it's a string. So we can use the type of function, and it will tell us what the type of this variable is. Oops, did I use it wrong? Type of is not defined. Okay, it's used in the slide somewhere. Type. Okay, just it's just type. Oops. Okay. So I want to print type first name. So it says it's of the class string, right? So it's a string type. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so yeah, there's just an example of what I just ran you guys through. Okay, now input output again. Now what if we want a number, right? So what we did before, it it gave us back when we typed in, it was a string, right? Now it says, okay, here it says the text in quotes is called a prompt and it must be a string. Okay, yes. Now, yeah. What if we want a number, and what if I want the program to store this this value as an actual integer, right? So here this is what's called typecasting. And if we follow, right, we have int. So look, see how input, we have input, then we have bracket, and then something inside. But inside int, we have this whole thing, right? Because int has a bracket here and a bracket there. So we're casting this whole everything that comes from this function, we're going to what's called cast it or turn it into a type of int. Okay? So here we're just going to do an example. Okay, so let's say number equals input. So first we'll just do the basic. Please give a number. Okay, and I'm going to give a number 12. Now we're going to print the type. We're going to print what type it is. And it should be string. It'll be string. There it is. String, right? Now let's cast it. Let's cast it like this. So that's the bracket of the input done, and then we have to put another bracket for the cast to int. Now I give it 12. Now I print the number. Sorry. Now I print the type of number. Class int. There we go. Okay. Now, is that the only way we can cast? Let's see. Can we cast? Can we do this? Now I want to cast it to a float now. So don't think that in order to cast number, right, that we have to do it like this. We had to get the input and then put it inside here. No, we can cast it in place like this. I think we can do this. Float number. Okay, well, there you go. It casted the number. It casted the number 12 into a float. Remember, float is a decimal number, right? Is a is for decimal numbers, right? So we'll just put a decimal zero there. Okay. Okay. Continue. Okay. So this is a review again. Print options for strings. So here we're inputting, we're we're storing the value of this string into this variable, and we're doing that here. We're storing this number into this variable, and then we're printing. We're executing different print statements. So okay, so what this is doing here, let's just go through this line by line. So we're using the same print statement we've been using, but instead of, and so we're putting in the variable name, username, right? That's the variable, comma, and then a string inside, which is denoted by the quotation marks, comma, the variable name number. How can we distinguish between a string and a variable name? Well, the strings are always in quotation marks. Username is holding a string inside it. Number is holding an int inside it. And here, so we got number, and then we have a string with a period. So let's just test it out and see what the outcome is. So for this, we should probably just we should use VS Code and make a program. Okay. So let's go. Let's go into ICS. Okay, first I want to exit this. I'll show you how I can start that from the terminal. So I just write code, and I write the file I want to open, and so it opens Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I don't want to do this. I want to make a new file. So let's call it input output .py. Now, whenever you make a Python file, it always has to end with .py. Okay, so what did they do? So I'm just gonna make a doc string. So this is just to describe what's this program does. This program is to demonstrate how to take input from a user and also the different ways we can output or display information or data. So that's a doc string. That is just for the users, for the user or the coder. Just it's like comment. It's pretty much a form of comments, right? So you think that you would think that when you're writing a whole bunch of code and you got all these different things going on, right? You want to be able to describe or what you're doing, right? Sometimes even the code that you yourself write, you come back to it after 3 months and you don't even know what's going on, right? So that's what comments are for. Okay, so let's just take user. Let's take user input. Let's just call it user. Let's say Um, Bob Jones. So it's a string Bob Jones, and we'll say his age is. We'll make it an age. He's 35. So let's print user, comma, is, comma, age, comma, years old, comma, period. Let's see if this works. Let's see. Yep, there it is. I wanted to zoom, but I can't. So here's the output. Bob Jones is 35 years old, right? And so if we look at the example, we put in the variable name. We have a string there. We have the variable name, and we have a string there, and that's what we did here. Variable name, string, variable name, string. So we can combine. So what? How is this useful? Because let's just say what we've done right now is we've hard coded the name of the user. But what if I want to? What if I wanted to change for whatever the user inputs? So I can just do that. I can say input. Tell me your name, please. All right, and I can do this here too. Well, remember, I want to cast it to. I want it because age is a number. I want to cast it to an int. So I'll do that, and our prompt will be tell me your age as well. Okay, and then we'll see what. Now look, there's no values. Well, right now there's no value in there, but there's a promise of a value. So here we go. Tell me your name, please. My name is Jimmy Bob. Tell me your age as well. I'm 65. Jimmy Bob is 65 years old. So here we can tell that we can see that the program executed sequentially. First, it ran this line and it said, okay, it prompted us, tell me your name, please, and then it allowed us to input a string. So we input that. Then this executed, and it said, tell me your age as well. And so it asked me that question, and then I inputted the number, and then the print statement executed, and it printed out the user, and then the string it is, and then the age, and then the rest. And so that's what we got here. It looks like I don't need to add space here or here, because when I put the comma there, it already puts the space there. So, and this, I should just make this one. Okay. Okay, so that's another example. Okay, so that's just this first one. Now here, print you. So now we want to use this sep. So sep is what's it called? Um, Short for separator. So I can choose the separator. So whenever I put a comma, right, a comma in place of the commas, so in between these different values, the separator will go. So let's see if we can do that. And sep equals. Let's make it colon. so you can see what's going on. Oop. Where? Oh, do I need a comma there? Is that what they had there? Comma, yeah. So here, and here's where you'll get the in the terminal is here's where you'll get the errors, right? Um, and so it told us perhaps you forgot a comma, and it kind of tries to tell us where it might be. It's not super accurate, but you get used to it. Okay, so Jim Bob, just a random name, just doesn't matter. Age 45, 46, 47. Now here you can see Jim Bob separated by colon. So the separator is now a colon. And then I can do this. I can say I want it to be no space in between. So Todd Packer 28. So now there's no space in between these values, right? But I want to do this. So by default, so if you notice, by default, if we don't even include that, by default, it just puts a space in between them. It just puts a regular space. All right, just put spaces in between them. Let me clear this. Okay. That's another example. Okay. Let's see. And then here, inside here, we're casting. Okay, so now in this one, instead of using the comma syntax, we're using plus. So this is an operation for strings called concatenation. We can add strings together. So, but in order to do that, so we'll do that, but we won't cast the number, and you'll see the error that we'll get some sort of error. So let me just hard code these. User Todd. Age 23. And so instead of the comma notation, we're gonna do plus. There's gonna be a problem. What does it say? Oh, name Todd is not defined. This should be a string. Okay, now here's the answer. See, can only concatenate string, not int. And remember, age is an int here. So what do we have to do? We have to cast it. Now that will work. There. It says Todd is 23 years old. So with this, with the plus notation, with the concatenation, we actually have to put spaces in ourselves. There, that looks better. Okay, so here. So remember that commas in the sep option can be used to separate values of different data types. But the plus concatenation operator, so the plus is a concatenation operator only when you're dealing with strings. Otherwise, if you're dealing with two numbers, then it's just addition, right? Okay. So it says must always be used with values of the same data type, right? So if you're concatenating strings, that all the values have to be strings. Printing long lines. The output for each of these prints is the same. The first one is not good programming, as all the lines in your program should be less than 80 characters in length. So what that means is this: like if I have this is one line, it shouldn't stretch all the way to the past 80 characters, right? Because it becomes harder to read. So this is trailing off the page. Instead of that, you can split it up like this. You can split up a chunk like this, put in the end, end keyword there with just the same way we use sep, we can use end. So this end says end it with a space. Then we can put the next piece of thing there and then the next. And that's kind of cumbersome, but this sorry. Oh, I'm all over the place. This way seems a little bit more intuitive, where you just press enter, you put a slash and a slash, and you use the plus operator. Write a program that asks the user to input marks for 4 courses and then displays the average mark. Hmm. Okay. So we'll stop. Actually, perhaps I'll I'll do that, and then yeah, I'll write that program now. Okay, before we move on to another video. Okay. Okay. Actually, yeah, we'll leave that there. We'll comment this. So when you write a, so when you put a, so when you put this character, this hash in front of a line, it comments it turns this whole line into a comment, meaning that the program is not going to execute that line. So see, nothing happens, nothing is printed, right? Oops, I want to clear the terminal. Okay, so what did it ask? Write a program that asks the user for input, asks the user to input marks for 4 courses, then displays the average mark. Okay, there's several ways I can do this. I can ask it for input one at a time. Okay. Okay. So this is something that you may know how to do, you may not know. So while I is less than I is less than 4, and we want a value for grades. Is the grade supposed to be, yeah, it needs to be an int because I need to do a calculation. Okay, I'll make it a float. What was your grade? So we ask the user, first thing we want to do is ask the user for the grade. Okay, we want to keep track of the sum. So we say sum equals 0. Right? So sum, now we're going to do this, plus equals grade. You won't understand any of this. Or maybe you will. But we're covering topics that we haven't covered yet. Right? So we're taking the number for grade, and what we're doing here is this is another way of saying, so sum plus equals grade is another way of writing this. Sum equals the sum plus the grade. Now what does that do? So the sum starts out as 0. So when we take in our first number, we say 0 plus whatever grade I get, put that in the sum. So let's say if I put in grade, I got 95. So it's going to be 95. Now, what this while thing is that I'm saying that this is called a loop. We'll go through that in the coming in the next videos. Not this video, but some of the next videos down the line, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to be continually asking for grades, and we're gonna add up the sum. So I like this way because it's cleaner and it's easy to understand. Sum equals grade. So sum plus equals grade. And then we want to increase. So we want to add 1 to I. And you may not understand why, but. And then we want to take average equals grade divided by 4. Print your average is, excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, let's see if this works. What was your grade? So let's see. For the first class, I got 65. The next class, I got a 76. The next class, I got an 89. The next class, I got a 95. Whoa. Something's wrong here. So now here we got to do some debugging, right? Because our average shouldn't be 23.75. So now this is a good example of debugging. So let's see. Actually, I'll use the can I use the debugger? I can put a breakpoint here, right? And I want to run debug. So what was your grade? 87. So here now it's telling me, okay, grade is 87. Oh, that's why. I can already see it. It should be the sum. Okay. So I can, or how do I stop this? Oh, there we go. Stop. There we go. Now, run Python file. What was your grade? 65. What was your grade? 77. What was your grade? 62. And then I got a 97. So there, 72.75. Let's see. I want to do, and then I want to, yeah, and I want to say percent. Okay, so there. So that's a small program. You probably having a lot of questions, and it'll be clear as we go on. So I'll stop there, and then we'll continue with the next video.